Welcome to FAWKES News Wednesday. It's our live show. We are live here. It is freezing cold and snowy and icy, and I will probably have to cut today's show just a little bit short because I have a meeting all the way in Raleigh that did not get canceled, and I'm not very good at driving in the snow, and I'll have to drive a lot slower than normal. Today we are covering where is Michelle Obama and why all of a sudden are these crazy rumors about a possible potential breakup between her and Barack Obama, and then this weird, very strange rumor that's coming from across the pond, because we would never report on that here in the United States, and it's probably hogwash, but there is a rumor that I want to talk about Biden and Jennifer Aniston, and it's not that I want to spread rumors about it, but I have a weird theory to think about that might be just fun dinner talk for you and the wife or the husband also, where was Nancy Pelosi at during the inauguration? Does it even matter? Ocasio-Cortez. More importantly, though, is Biden pardoned Leonard Peltier, and a lot of people were like, "Who is Leonard Peltier?" I didn't know either. And so we're going to cover exactly who Leonard Peltier is. And I covered this. I did my research objectively because I'm always cautious, especially with the FBI in the 70s. The same FBI that had a lot to do with the assassination of John F. Kennedy, the same FBI and the same CIA that was involved in MK Ultra, and just there was a lot of very sketchy things being done in the 70s and the early 80s by the FBI. So when I saw that Peltier, at first I was like, well, maybe Biden's onto something. Maybe this guy, there is a possibility. Let me see, why was the FBI onto this guy? But then the more research I did on Leonard Peltier, I'm not so convinced that he was a good guy. This looks more like a stab at law enforcement, a stab at the FBI. This was a last minute thing. It didn't really need to happen. It wasn't really necessary. Nobody's really fighting for it. I mean, I think this was literally just something that Biden did just to piss people off. And I'll tell you why I think that, because I couldn't find any other reason. There's a lot of other people out there that deserve a second look at their case, or that deserve, an appeals process or a pardon of some sort, that did something for noble causes, like maybe they killed somebody that molested their daughter or their significant loved one or something like that, that he could have pardoned, but he chose Leonard Peltier, and I don't know. I'm not convinced that this guy deserved that at all. I don't think he deserved a pardon. Maybe I'm wrong, but we'll talk about it today. And thank God it's a live show because you guys will be able to weigh in. And then we have kind of this other pardon on the other side of Trump pardoning Ross Ulbricht. Now, I am pretty researched. It's been, 10 or 11 years since I've researched Ross Ulbricht, but I read the book Silk Road. I listened to many podcasts about Ross Ulbricht. So I think it is definitely something to debate or talk about. I don't know that we can debate whether Leonard Peltier should have been pardoned or not. I don't think that's up for debate. I think Leonard Peltier, I think that's just kind of a why. What were you thinking? But Ross Ulbricht, that's an actual debate. That's actually something that we could have a discussion about. And, maybe we're going to have a difference in opinion on what should have been done with Ross Ulbricht. But at least it's not objectively insane to let somebody like Ross Ulbricht go from the site Silk Road. I think that is going to be a fun conversation. So if you are in the live chats, get ready, because I think this is something fun to talk about, and we're going to have a good time with that. Other than that, I think that's all we have for today's show. Today's show is brought to you by ghostbed.com. We'll do, you know what? Relentless Beef Jerky. I have to give a shout out to Relentless Beef Jerky. I keep forgetting to do that. They sent a big giant box of beef jerky, and I couldn't be more thankful because I'm, going through an extreme diet right now, training sometimes 2 times a day, doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai. So the beef jerky is really helpful for me. So I really appreciate that. And then also we have manscaped.com and factormeals.com/Wolfpack50. So thank you for, of course, Factor Meals. Always a big deal, man. Meal planning is so difficult. Factor Meals makes it so much easier. So head over to factormeals.com/Wolfpack and start your meal planning today. All right, Josh, let's get into today's show. Let me bring in Josh from Dead Like Media here. Here he is. Hello, Joshua. Hello,
Good morning.
sir. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning.
Hopefully you're staying warm.
Very cold out here.
It's very cold. Lots of snow. Okay. I want to get through some of the more fun stuff first, and then let's get into the more serious stuff. I think the more fun stuff is this crazy rumor going on mainly in India. Now, if you've been listening to Fox News for more than a few months, since it is a new show, but if you followed it from the Failure to Stop podcast, which now Failure to Stop is just first responder content, case breakdowns on Friday mainly. So you can go to Failure to Stop and follow that every Friday live at 11. But we used to do all the news over there. Now we have separated it to here. So if you've been following for, I don't know, that amount of time, you'll know that I love to just check in to see what the Hindu Times or the Indian Times or, Australian news networks, I like to see what they are saying about the United States of America or kind of what they're reporting on. And to my amazement this week, I did notice this, and it was funny because I wasn't really going to talk about it. And then somebody in the live chats on yesterday's show brought it up, and I was like, well, let's do talk, because maybe I'm not the only one that's heard of this, which is this crazy, bizarre rumor that Biden and Jennifer Aniston have been dating for a very long time. Now, I don't know that I believe that. I haven't seen any evidence that would make me believe that that's true. And Jennifer Aniston's statement is that she had only met him once, and she's actually met Michelle more than she's met Obama. So I don't think Jennifer Aniston has any reason to lie. I mean, maybe she does, but I always take people on face value. Like I don't judge them. I assume that you're telling me the truth until I've been proven otherwise. But there are some things in the Obama family that I have always been skeptical of. And that is one, their daughter's resemblance to any of them, which going down that rabbit hole, that's a lot of fun. Is her name? Her name is Sasha Obama, right? Is that her name?
She's got two of them.
Yeah. Can you look them up for me really quick? Their names. That's a fun rabbit hole to go down. My wife likes to go down that rabbit hole. Also, the rabbit hole of there's no pictures of Michelle Obama pregnant. That's a fun rabbit hole to go down. If you're into conspiracy theories, to have fun. Now, listen, don't take it too seriously. Don't get upset. Don't lose your mind over this stuff. But if you want to be entertained, Malia and Sasha, that's right, Sasha. Yeah. And then there's that weird picture that was on Hunter Biden's laptop where it appeared maybe that her ID card might have been in the picture, but definitely the doggy style picture, the doggy style sexual position picture. That's crazy. That would be, I wouldn't want to see that. I hope that is not true. I hope it really is not true. From the bottom of my heart, as a man with a daughter, I hope that picture isn't true. But if you were in all of that stuff and you've gone down those rabbit holes and you just tinkered in them, it's easy to just push those aside. And I did for many years. I was like, I don't believe it. I don't believe that, I don't believe with today's AI and what's real and what's not, Photoshop and all the things. I'm not going to believe that stuff. I'm not going to believe that stuff. But then we have this very strange cover up of Hunter Biden's laptop that was just so bizarre. I mean, they went through great lengths to get rid of this laptop. What was so bad? I mean, it's Hunter Biden. You can get around porn. Nobody cares. I mean, shit. I bet you 85% of dudes in America got porn on their computers. I mean, they're cops wrecking cars with porn on their computers, playing actively in the car wreck, right? And it doesn't even, what I'm saying is I don't think anybody would care. I don't think the majority of people would care. Obviously, some people would care and be offended. I would not be surprised. We all know he has a drug problem. We all know he has an alcohol problem. We know he's in and out of rehab. A little bit of porn on his computer or a lot of porn on his computer. It's not going to sway an election. Is it, Josh? Is that going to sway an election? I don't think so. So it's not that. It wasn't that there was porn on his computer. I don't know that anybody cares that he was actively doing drugs on his computer. We knew that. People still voted for Biden. So I don't think it was that either. So what happened that was so crazy on that laptop that they had to go through that length to squash the laptop? So then it does make you go, I don't know about these pictures. That does seem pretty strange. But here's where it gets even crazier with the Obamas. Let me switch over to the Obamas. And I only bring up the Jesus Christ. Let me silence my phone here. Oh my Jesus. How do I silence? Hang on. Let me just say mark as red. Somehow my phone is redirecting to the computer and I don't know why. And I don't even know how to stop that. So anyway,
right.
If that Obama picture, Michelle Obama picture is on there, that might be a reason for the Obamas to be going crazy. If there's something else going on with the Obamas that seem to be going crazy. But we also remember that the Obamas definitely had a very weird, strange death of their chef in less than 6 feet of water for a man who knows how to swim and who was on a paddleboard right outside the home. So I've always said, well, what did that guy see, or what did that guy walk in on, or what information was that guy privy to that led to him drowning right outside, very strange, so now I don't kind of question what's going on in the Obama household that's nefarious. Like, obviously there's something, to me, it's obvious that something is going on in the Obama household. Also we have the whole, and I know right now you're probably sitting in your car going, I thought this show wasn't about speculation and conspiracy. Now you sound like the rest of everybody. I don't mean for the show to be like that. And typically it's not. Typically the show's not supposed to be about that and about speculation. I only bring all that stuff up. And it is fun, Josh. It is fun to go down these rabbit holes. And I apologize if it offends you. But in this case, it's a totality of weird circumstances coupled with the rumors that are out now of why Michelle Obama didn't stand by her husband in one of his most difficult times. It was probably not easy for Obama to show up to the inauguration. I'll tell you this. If there's something hard for me to do and I decide that it's the right thing to do because it's the right thing to do, even if my wife disagrees with it, she's still going to go. For instance, let me give you an example. My wife kind of came up with a rule with another family member. I don't necessarily agree or disagree with the rule, but I will go along with the rule and support no matter what. Even if I disagreed completely, if that's her decision, then, and it's not, obviously it's not going to hurt our family. I'm going to take her side. That's what marriage is kind of about, taking each other's side, ride or die. And so if I was to go and be on a podcast, maybe where somebody had talked really bad about me and said some really nasty, heinous things, but I still felt like it was the right thing to go on that. And even if she's like, I don't think you should, why would you do that? Why would you do? And I decided to do it anyway. She would go with me. Michelle Obama did not go with Obama to the inauguration, which is arguably one of the more difficult times. So that does show. And I think in there earlier on, when he was going through the presidency, they went through a lot of crazy shit. And she was always there by his side. So I do think it is a little bit weird that she didn't go. I don't want to read too much into it because sometimes, us outsiders, journalists, that's what we do. And it does, and it's not necessarily true or based on facts. But the fact is she did not show up. But Nancy Pelosi didn't show up either, and neither did AOC. But I believe that Michelle probably would have. I don't think she's the type that would have not I am so sorry, Josh. I don't think she's the type that would have ignored or would have done this prior to her marriage. Josh, if you'll just take over for me for a second, I got to figure out how to silence this. Can you hear that? Can you hear the dinging?
No.
Oh, you can't hear it?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, we're not hearing it.
Well, then I'm going to keep going. I'm sorry about that. My computer, somehow my phone is linked to my computer, and now there's group chats that are just binging, and that's extremely annoying.
I'll help you fix it after.
Let me go back to this Michelle Obama thing though, really quickly. So let me pull up this article so you can know exactly kind of what I'm talking about. Fun and loosey goosey show. Why? So here we go. This is why. Big news in Washington, D.C. Skip President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration on Monday. Well, no, I'm sorry. That's the wrong I'm so distracted by this goddamn dinging. All right. Michelle Obama is setting boundaries, even if it fuels divorce rumors. Josh, give me one second. Can you bring that article up, Josh, and then read that article? I put it in the private chat. In the private chat, It is, go ahead and read that. I'm going to mute this and fix this.
Here we go. Here's what Michelle Obama was doing on Donald Trump's inauguration day. Michelle Obama is reportedly donating while missing the inauguration of Donald Trump. The former first lady is not in Washington, D.C. with her husband, President Barack Obama, on the day that Donald Trump's inauguration. This is because President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris are handing over power to Trump and J.D. Vance. Michelle, on the other hand, is concentrating on celebrating Martin Luther King Day, which coincides with the inauguration this year. I'm always inspired by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy of service, the 61-year-old wrote as the caption for her post on Twitter on the January 20th. Whether you're volunteering for a cause, it is important that you are not mentoring students at your local school. It all hopes to make a difference, she added in the comments. Michelle included in the quote, "The time is always right to do with what's right," along with a picture of the late activist in her caption. Michelle, however, did not pass up the chance to pay tribute to the late president and his presidency. President Carter taught us all of what it meant to live a life of grace, dignity, and justice and service, the couple wrote in a joint statement after the former president passed away. Besides Donald Trump's wife, Melania Trump, his son, Barron Trump, and his daughter, Ivanka Trump, and Jared Kushner, Tiffany Trump, and her husband, Michelle Borlos, and her son, Eric Trump, Donald Trump Jr., and the Trump family were also included in the Trump. Why did Michelle Obama not attend Donald Trump's inauguration? Michelle chose to observe Martin Luther King Jr.'s Day, advocating for community service and reflecting on King's legacy rather than attending the inauguration. Michelle promoted the community involvement through mentoring, volunteering, and sharing an inspirational post that included Dr. King's famous quote, "The time is always right to do with what's right." You're muted. You got yourself muted.
What am I? All right, so this is coming from Yahoo News, though, and we'll squash this. But Michelle Obama is setting boundaries, even if it fuels divorce rumors. They actually took to Twitter and did a Twitter post. But until they effortlessly shut it, let's see. So let me read the whole thing for you. Michelle Obama is setting boundaries, even if it fuels divorce rumors, until they effortlessly shut it down with a loving Instagram tribute. Social media was a buzz with speculation that Barack and Michelle Obama are getting a divorce. X thought it, TikTok thought it. Even some news outlets were fueling the rumors. However, the former First Lady might just be giving us the best lesson in putting your own needs first. When they go low, we can stay out of it. The rumors of an impending Obama's divorce stem, of course, from Michelle's notable absence of the events that may cause her to cross paths with President-elect Donald Trump. Michelle didn't join her husband. Okay, so you already read all that part because you read a different article than that, right? Correct?
Yeah, I read the one from The Economist.
And so if the reason why it's kind of funny to me, and I'm sorry that I got discombobulated here with all these texts, is that again, if we follow the Hindu Times or the Indian Times, which is a lot of fun to do. Listen, if you want a different perspective on news, look and see what people across the pond are saying. Their big rumor right now, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. But their big rumor, for whatever reason, across the pond, is that Jennifer Aniston and Obama are dating, which I think is hilarious. And I listen, I don't put any stake into that at all. But again, that is why all these rumors are being fueled. That's why you're seeing it on X. I would write it off as fake news if I were you. I wouldn't believe that for 2 seconds. But I would never forget that there was a man who died near the Obama's house that is their chef, that died in less than 6 feet of water, and he was on a paddle board. So, like, I'll just leave it at that. There was something happened. There was something crazy. And there were some crazy pictures that were found on Hunter Biden's laptop that nobody's really determined whether they were fake or not fake. And nobody's made like a public statement on those. And those are pretty nefarious. I think one of them had some kind of an ID card. Was it the credit card with Sasha or one of the Obama's daughter's names on it, plus the girl backside. That's a rabbit hole you can go down on your own. I'm not going to celebrate that on this show, but it'll give you something to do if you're into that kind of TMZ drama. All right. Nancy Pelosi didn't show up either. Nobody kind of mentioned what she did. There isn't any record of what she did during the inauguration. I'm not really surprised by Nancy Pelosi not showing up. To be honest with you, I don't think anybody cares. Why is she even still a thing? You know what I'm saying? Like, why is Nancy Pelosi still a thing? I don't know. She's, the whole thing about her is kind of gross to me. My buddy who works not security, but my buddy who is, I got to be very careful, but works close to the White House. And anyway, he sometimes will call me and give me rants. And he called and ranted with me about, he called her Skeletor and just had a lot of really nasty things to say about her one day. And I'll never forget that. But I'll never get that image out of my head that she was a skinny Skeletor with a plastic face. That's insane. So anyway,
she was using a walker when she was.
And he says she doesn't. Fulcrum finds out, says it's those heavies, Eric. She doesn't have. He says that she doesn't have heavies. He says that she does not have heavies. Yeah, I mean, he says like he didn't. He just says she looks like a Holocaust victim, essentially, with a plastic face. But so if anybody hasn't paid attention to AOC, somebody send her some love today, because AOC is absolutely going insane on Instagram. She's going unhinged. If you're not following along, you should follow. Lots of rants. She's going all in on the Hitler salute, but there's pictures coming out of her doing the same salute and the same gesture, same as Hillary Clinton. That's what we talked about yesterday, but AOC was not there. Okay, let's jump into the more serious news before we do. And this is where we're going to go next, guys. So please stay here. It's this Leonard Peltier. Who is he? Oh, should he have been pardoned or not? And then Trump's pardon of Ross Ulbricht. We're going to talk about those things. Big debate here. Gonna need you guys in the live chat, because I think you guys are going to want to weigh in on this. This is one man's opinion, and I think this is an opinion driven thing. I don't think there is an objective truth here. I think this is just something that's going to be up for debate. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys' opinions or your debates are in the live chats. Try to keep it friendly. I'm going to keep it friendly. Nothing you say is going to offend me, probably. We'll see. But today's show is brought to either way. Even if you did offend me, I will sleep peacefully tonight in my ghost bed. Ghostbed.com, beds, man, the good old USA. Right now, Ghostbed's offering 40% off, sometimes 50% off on their site-wide. Valentine's Day is coming. Make sure you get your loved one the gift that keeps on. Could you imagine a Valentine's Day where you showed up with a Ghostbed pillow? Oh, my goodness. These are pillows built to last. Could you imagine, if you really want to go all out for Valentine's Day, get the bed with the adjustable base. I'm talking endless scenarios. We're talking like Kama Sutra level playtime. You could pop a blue chew, go all night, try out. You won't even get through a quarter of the positions that bed's capable of. I think that would be a very, very fun and exciting Valentine's Day, if you ask me. Head over to ghostbed.com. I've toured their facilities. I've been down there. It's in Florida. It's awesome. It's amazing. Right now, you can get a ghost bed adjustable base. $1,098, and they've got 0% down, 0% financing. That's even if you have state trooper credit. So man, now is the time. It's got everything too. It's got that zero gravity massage mode. It's got all the, plus they got the cooling sheets, the cooling technology. But I'm obsessed. I like anything ghost bed, the pillows, the sheets, the pillowcases, the beds, all of it. I absolutely love Ghost Bed. I don't travel anywhere without my Ghost Bed pillow. And you guys know how much I travel. Also, we have factormeals.com/Wolfpack50. Meal planning to the next level. Head over to Factor Meals and start your meal planning today. These are fresh. These are chef prepared, fresh and never frozen meals delivered right to your door, baby. Delivered right to your front door. They got these like beautiful little Nordic ice packaging, but you can do breakfast and dinner, breakfast, lunch and dinner, lunch and dinner, lunch and breakfast, whatever you want. Tons of different menu items that change up all the time. Every time I go on the site, there's something new. You can set it up. Mine deliver every Tuesday. And so you can do calorie conscious, protein heavy. But let's go. Summer's coming. Spring's coming. Let's get in shape. Let's prepare now. Let's get excited about the summertime. Let's get those summer bods that we've all wanted. Let's get healthy. Let's get in shape. Look, it's a new year, new presidency. Everything's new, a fresh new start. Everybody's powered by optimism. Let's go with a healthy diet too. Get on board, guys. Get healthy. Get with it. All right, let's get into it. Enough playtime. Leonard Peltier, Native American activist, and he was pardoned. Go ahead and tell me a little bit about Leonard. Now, listen, Leonard Peltier, Not a very good guy. Here's the thing, Josh. You know me, when we were going over the Leonard Peltier thing, I questioned you. I played devil's advocate very hard because I don't like it when the FBI, especially the 70s FBI, the 2020s FBI. I don't like the FBI. I don't know that I trust the FBI all that much. When they go after an activist, especially in the 70s, and there's this massive shooting, I asked myself, well, why was the FBI going after him? And then, of course, if you just listen to part of the story is that the FBI was going after two guys in a red truck who had warrants for theft, stealing of some cowboy boots and some cattle. I don't know if the FBI, maybe they didn't have police departments that were out on reservations. I don't know. I haven't looked that far into this whole thing. I'm not doing a case breakdown on it or anything. But I question it. Like, why did the FBI get involved? Why do they care? It's just a pair of boots. Just kind of let it go. Kind of Ruby Ridge-ish, right? Just let some things you can just kind of let go for a minute. Take a step back. Take a breather. But then you get further into this and you notice that Leonard Peltier, and this is a big ass gun battle, guys. We're talking a massive gun battle where FBI agents were executed. I brought this up before. I always said on Thanksgiving during the COVID times that if any law enforcement, any of any kind, and I was law enforcement, I was a police officer for almost 8 years in a major city, that even during COVID, if a law enforcement officer of any kind tried to break up my family dinner inside of my private home, I would tell them to first call their wife, ask your wife if it's worth it. Is it worth me going all in on this guy who's refusing to split his family apart for less than 10 people at his Thanksgiving gathering in his private home? Is it worth me dying over this, or should I just let this one go? And then whatever your wife says, then call your supervisor and ask your supervisor real quick. And then after that, if we still want to go through the process, I will have no problem doing what I need to do to not comply with this unconstitutional law. That was me, right? And maybe I'd be a villain in the story. Maybe I'd be here. I don't care. But I would need in that moment to show my kids that you have to stand up for your constitutional right to gather. And that they don't get to dictate some kind of virus that makes me split my family apart or whatever. That is just my personal belief. And I'd go that distance. So, where these Indians, these Native Americans, were they just going the distance that day? But here's what I wouldn't do. I wouldn't cold blood. It wouldn't be personal between me and the cop. The cop made a decision that he has to do what he has to do. And we're going to fight until he has no fight left in him. But I'm not going to execute a cop. I'm not going to walk up to a cop while he puts his hand over his face, shoot through his hand into his head. I'm not going to do that to 2 cops or even 3 cops. And in this case, in the Leonard Peltier case, that's exactly what happened. I would also not be stealing their jackets and then wearing them around, or stealing their guns and wearing them around. I also wouldn't have murdered a cop in another town or been caught up in the investigation of an attempted murder in another town in Milwaukee. I also wouldn't have been charged with rape in Canada of a female. You know what I'm saying? Like, this guy didn't have a very good track record before he ruthlessly murdered FBI agents who were, one, looking for these guys for whatever reason, but also they run into Peltier, who also has warrants for attempted murder in Milwaukee, which then ensues in this massive gunfight, which then you couple it with the other crimes and allegations that Peltier was involved in and wrapped up in. And now we have this very late pardoning of a guy who's pretty much almost dead anyway. Is that safe to say? Like, this is a very old guy.
Yeah, he is 80 years old.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of time left on the ticker. And so why pardon him? Like, why go ahead and piss off law enforcement? Why piss off these families? Like, what's in it for you? What do you have to gain from pardoning this guy who was found guilty of these crimes and is supposed to serve 2 conservative life imprisonment? He also escaped from prison during this whole ordeal and got an extra 5 years tacked on. But I don't.
Sounds to me like he's just he's always in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, he's one of those guys.
It's never him. He never was. When I first started looking at this, the first thing I said was, all right, there's probably more to the story, because every news article that we're reading left out this guy had an active warrant for attempted murder of a police officer.
Yeah, an off-duty
That, I
police
mean,
officer.
it wasn't like he left a parking ticket and left it and skipped town. He was attempted murder of a police officer. And then they convicted him on forensics because they found his gun. I'm going to point out the FBI agents, the 2 FBI agents that were executed. It's not that they were shot. They were shot. And then they were executed afterwards. They only got 5 rounds off between the 2 of them. You want to know how many rounds the other side got off? 125 were found. 5 to 125. Sounds like a fair fight. And not only that, they executed him. While they were defenseless, dealing with the wounds of the initial attack, they come up and execute them.
Yeah, straight through the hand into the face.
Executed.
Like, held the gun up. They were like, no, please don't kill me. Boom. Shot him through the head. Stole their jackets and their guns. I mean, we live in a civil society. This isn't fucking Wounded Knee. Not Wounded Knee. What was the one with the massacre?
So, it's in Texas. The ATF Branch
No.
Davidian.
I'm talking about like Civil War era.
Now you're really going to have me try to think.
All right. Sorry about that. But anyway,
Yeah.
it's not, this isn't that. This isn't that. You can't just go around scalping dudes. And listen, I wish we could. You know, I wish war was like that. I wish you could be savages, but we can't do that. We're not allowed to do that anymore. So going and taking war trophies after you've executed 2 dudes. Yeah. Battle of Bighorn. Thanks, Greg. Jeez. Boy, that's embarrassing. Podcasting's hard. It's not always easy, but here we go. We have this pardon, this last minute pardon of Leonard Peltier. And on it, I cannot think, maybe somebody in the chats has something else, but I can't think of a reason why this guy would need a pardon last second. Out of all of the other cases that would come before you, of all of the other things that people are possibly wrongfully imprisoned for, this case seems to be pretty slam dunk. Like it seems like a pretty close case. You know, what would be the purpose of letting this guy go? Like who are you trying to gain favor with? Maybe the Native American community. I mean, there can't be enough that it would sway the votes.
Well, here's what I don't get. Let's just go out on the limb. Let's assume.
Yeah, Murphy 30 does say, to be fair, it was not a pardon; it was a commuted sentence. He will die at home. Essentially, don't support it. But I get it. I get you're right. But like, what's better
to die at home?
Why does that guy get to deserve to die at home? These officers fucking died right out there on the streets with a bullet through their hand in absolute fear and terror. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Like, I don't understand why the commuted sentence, and you're correct. And I should have been calling it a commuted sentence from the beginning and not a full pardon, because that is hyperbolic. So I do apologize for that. He is correct, a commuted sentence. But on the same note, what is the purpose of giving this guy a commuted sentence? Why go that far? Like I said, isn't there other things on the docket that we could be focusing our time on and energy on and pardoning and commuting sentences of, rather than, why aren't we commuting the sentence of some guy from, a nonviolent drug crime or something like that? Why are we going after this?
Before we get to the Trump side of the pardons, because I kind of have an answer for that. So with this, let's go out on a limb. Let's say he was wrongfully prosecuted. Let's say he was wrongfully, there's a whole process. There's an appeal process. He's been in prison his entire life. He escaped for a period of time and was convicted again and had another 5 years tacked on to that. It's not like this guy ran through a stop sign. He was involved in a double murder, and before that, an attempted murder. And if you want to say, well, he's sick and he's just going to die. Well, the family members of those FBI agents, they didn't get to spend the last moments with their loved ones when they were dying on the side of the road before they were executed.
Right. And they found him with the gun. When they found him, he had the FBI agent's gun, and he also confessed to it to several different people in prison. And then how about this? He was also suspected of being involved in the kidnapping, rape, and murder of Anne May Aquash, a First Nation Canadian, and she was part of the AIM, which was basically a militia for American Indians, American Indian Militia, and American Indian Movement is what AIM stands for. But it was basically he also ran a militia as part of the AIM. and they were an indigenous advocacy group. But so in the group, they suspected him. So like you're a part of a group, the AIM or BLM. Imagine if you're black and you're part of the BLM and your own BLM members accuse you of raping and murdering another member of the BLM. You get what I'm saying? It's not like outside people were like, oh, you raped. No, it's like you did it inside your own group. That's what kind of a piece of shit Leonard Peltier appears to have been.
And we would just add to they tried other people in this case. They arrested 3 people. He was one of 3. The 2 other people weren't acquitted, but they were found not guilty on grounds of self-defense. You want to know why he wasn't found not guilty on self-defense? Not only did they have forensic evidence tying his weapons to the rounds that were found in the heads of the deceased, he had their stolen equipment on him. He had their gun. He had they had all of the stuff from him. So it's not like, okay, you can claim self-defense. You can't claim self-defense when you walk up to someone and they're doing this because they're already on the ground from all the other wounds that you have already exchanged from them. And then you execute them with a round to the face. That's not self-defense. That's murder. That happened. So to me, it's this administration, the previous administration, just completely pissing on everything. I mean, we talk about that, not to get too far off of all the other stuff. That last minute, we're just going to pardon our entire family. You know who needs pardons? People who are guilty of committing a crime.
Right. Wait, yeah. How do we, and again, we kind of briefly talked about that yesterday, and we'll probably dive deeper into it because I do feel like there probably needs to be some legislation that you can't just pardon anybody for any reason, and you can't pardon them for crimes in the future, which is what Biden did. This is all unprecedented. We've never preemptive pardoned anybody. So it's like, just in case, so what if Fauci murdered somebody? You know what I'm saying? Like, so this whole preemptive pardon thing, we're going to do a whole breakdown on that, but obviously I think that's going to change going forward, or it needs to be changed, or we the people need to make sure that is changed. Murph 530 brought up a good point that he says he has a friend that's a Native American, and he was excited about this. Ask him if he realizes. Ask him, why did the people of the American Indian movement accuse him of rape and murder of one of their own? Like, if this guy was so good and this guy was so noble, why is he raping, kidnapping, and murdering his own people? Yeah, I don't know if this is the guy I want to be. This isn't the guy I want to be celebrating as a.
I don't want to hang my hat on this one.
But it's kind of like everybody that did with Michael Brown. Like, really, that's the kind of guy. That's who you want to put your movement around, as a guy like Michael Brown or a guy like George Floyd. That's who you want to make statues for, is a guy like you in Raleigh, North Carolina. Why is the George Floyd Memorial in North Carolina have about $500,000 worth of cameras around it? It is the most cameraed memorial, and it's probably the most expensive memorial in all of Raleigh, and it's in North Carolina. We're probably, we got to be about 1,000 miles away from where George Floyd happened, right?
I always ask this: where's the victims' rights advocacy groups? Where are they at? Did they just disappear overnight? Because apparently he beat the shit out of a pregnant woman. Where's the victims' rights for her? Where's her memorial?
Yeah,
I missed that one.
I don't want to go too deep into all that, but you guys know how I feel on that. Let's get on to this Ross Ulbricht, because that's the bigger that's the bigger argument that we have here today, and we'll get out of here. If anybody's not familiar, Ross Ulbricht invented basically the dark web, or exposed the dark web. And if you want to go down the Ross Ulbricht rabbit hole, it's very, very when I was a police officer and it was raining and drizzling and there wasn't anything going on, it was 2:00 in the morning and there wasn't any crimes going on. I went through, about a month's worth of being obsessed with the Silk Road. I read the book. I listened to this very, very long podcast. I think it was like 6 episodes. Each episode was like an hour and a half long. So, a lot, I've invested a lot of time on the whole Silk Road thing. And, Ross Ulbricht, I don't agree with what he did. And I understand, like, ultra and complete freedom, and everybody does have these fundamental rights, and that you can make your own decisions. I get it. But also, I believe that just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. I mean, I don't know that just because you can invent a site that will deliver drugs without question from anywhere in the world, doesn't matter who it harms, but also that you can sell and buy murders. And that's questionable how those murders were obtained, but it did happen. And there were parts, body parts, sold on the Silk Road. And again, not a lot, but there were. I do believe at the end of the day that the government, the only reason that they came after him was because of the Bitcoin thing, that he had a currency, and because they couldn't regulate it. And that's not right either. But I think Ross Ulbricht was not a noble person. I don't think that he is somebody that you, again, put on a pedestal, that you call him a hero. You know, he invented something that was mainly going to be used for evil. And is used for evil. I mean, think about the dark web as we know it today. It's a very dark and evil place. Do I believe his sentence was a little harsh? Yes. I think that was overreaching. But now look, we have Bitcoin is today. And I remember years and years ago, 10, 11 years ago, going down that rabbit hole of the Silk Road. And I'd never heard of Bitcoin. And I thought that's the dumbest thing ever. But now everybody's heard of Bitcoin. Now we've got Dogecoins and Bitcoins and all sorts of other coins. What do you think about the Ross Ulbricht pardon? Personally, I don't care. I do think that he's probably served his sentence. He's probably learned his lesson. I think the sentence was a little bit, so I don't really have a problem with the part. But he's not a hero to me either. I don't see this guy as somebody that I want to teach my kids about.
I look at it as similar to like the atomic bomb or creating a gun, like the person that invented, like things like that. Like there may have had the greatest intentions possible, but the problem is we're all people. And there are people out there that want to do the greatest things possible. But let's say that you come up with the greatest thing possible to cure cancer and you take it to Pfizer, and Pfizer's like, no, I don't want to do that because that's going to cost me money. That's going to take money out of our profits. I don't want to do that. So you have all the, like, I get kind of the need for it, but at the same time, I don't think holding him as responsible is the same thing either, because Smith & Wesson doesn't get a subpoena to arrest the inventors of Smith & Wesson every time a weapon goes off for murder or an AR-15 is used, or like Glock isn't brought into court, 300 times a day for all the murders that happen across the country. So I think to a point, yes, he gets some responsibility, but at the other side of it,
we also remember, Josh,
I can't hold you responsible for things that you can't hold me responsible. I
understand
for things that you
do. And I'm fair with that argument. That's why I thought the sentencing was a little harsh. But at the end of the day, he did create Silk Road for criminal intentions. He created the Silk Road and he committed crimes on the Silk Road. I mean, he himself was buying heroin or mushrooms and all. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say he himself was buying heroin. I don't have that. I don't know that for sure. I know that he bought drugs, and I can't remember 11 years ago exactly what he bought, but he was buying drugs for other people through the Silk Road and having it mailed to him. The whole thing was set up so that he could microdose or do all sorts of other things that were illegal at the time. So he created the site to commit crimes. Whether you agree with the law or not, you still have to know that it is a law, and what you do, you are subject to criminal punishment. It's like I always said, I probably would have been one of the guys running alcohol during Prohibition because I don't believe in the Prohibition. But then at the same time, I became a cop and I charged people with possession of marijuana, which is probably going to be the same thing in 10 years. So, but I always have said too, that if I was running alcohol and I got caught, I knew the consequences and I knew what I was about. I knew what was going to happen. And I knew that law enforcement officers were just carrying out their job, and I would not kill a law enforcement officer over alcohol or booze because it's a law that had been passed through our judicial system, and I have to, again, have faith in the system. That's different from a constitutional right to be at home and gather with others. Your right to fellowship and things. So he did commit crimes. So I do believe he should be punished. And then at the end of the day, though, the site that he created, there was no good that came out of that site. it was only for nefarious activities, prostitution and drugs mainly, and guns, selling illegal guns. And I think there was like only 2 rules on the Silk Road. And it was like, one, they wouldn't allow you to buy a fake degree. So you couldn't get like a fake degree, become a, like a doctor or surgeon or something like that on the Silk Road. That was one of his things. And there was another rule, and I don't remember what that rule was.
I'm Googling, but the AI is not coming up think fast enough.
Yeah. So I guess at the end of the day, like, I mean, it's not an objective, like the Leonard Peltier, like it's objectively evil what he did, what he and his friends did to 2 FBI agents that were simply doing their jobs, not infringing on their rights, not going above and beyond the judicial system. Like they literally were executed by these guys. So objectively, I don't think there's an argument there. Like, I think this guy should die in fucking prison for what they did. And especially for all the other crimes that he didn't get caught with.
Well, and if he didn't do them, if we're going to have rules for thee, but not for, what makes him so special that he hasn't been able to present his argument or his appeals like he's been in prison for a couple of years. This isn't like, it's not like 2 minutes. He escaped from prison. So, he's in prison. Like there's a process for that. He has to go through the same process as everybody else. And if the process comes out and they say, well, we retried the case, because one of the things his attorneys keep saying is, if we retried the case today, he wouldn't get convicted. Well, fine.
But they always say that.
You need to present new evidence that was different than you had at the trial, that contradicts what was presented. There was forensic evidence that tied him to the death of an execution. So that
statements.
One in witness state, like one. No.
I like Greg LaMontagne says, what if you need a liver and your child and the insurance company is stalling? I think they made a movie about this. They did. Was it called John Q? I believe. Was that the name of the movie?
Something like that.
Maybe I'm wrong.
It's
John Q. But anyway. You're talking about the one with Denzel Washington, right?
Yeah, we can think about like a hypothetical situation, something like that. How many times has it actually happened? Like 15 times, 20 times, 100 times, 3,000 times, twice. If we're talking something that's happened twice in our known recorded history right now, twice.
Right. It's like when they talk about abortion, they're like, what about, incest? So, that's like less than 1% of all abortions. And like, nobody's going to argue that, that case anyway. So like that's when we're talking about an abortion argument, we're never talking about those things. When I'm talking about stealing body parts or selling body parts, I'm not talking about the liver. What I'm talking about is that in Africa right now, I have a buddy, I've talked about this on the show before. Actually, the guy's been a guest on this show years and years ago, like when at very first beginning. But he was undercover. He started out on a counter poaching operation in Africa and ended up being undercover, ended up staying for over a year on a undercover operation where they were buying and selling body parts through the dark web in Africa, not even through the dark web, like on the streets, like the black market of Africa. They're selling these bodies, and they're not selling the body parts for anything other than nefarious activities, for Haitians to be able to do voodoo with it, or for other African tribes to do like crazy rituals. Like a majority of these body parts aren't being used for science or anything like that. Yes. And in that case, the former Secret Service agent did steal a lot of money from the Silk Road. There was also like I think it was a politician that hired for murder, if I remember correctly. It's been, again, 10 years. It's been a decade since I've read the book. An amazing book, an amazing case. That's why I say I'm fine with the pardon. I have no problem with the pardon. I think he did need to go to jail for the crimes that he committed, because, you committed crimes, you're going to have to pay for them, and he knew that. And he was running from them. Do I think his sentence was a little bit ridiculous? Sure. And do I think that he should have been charged with the crimes that he didn't commit? Like, just, again, because you can make a gun doesn't mean that you're guilty of somebody else murdering somebody with that gun. Just because Einstein invented the bomb.
Oppenheimer.
or Oppenheimer doesn't mean that he's an evil guy or an evil bad person that they did this. So, yeah, I have no problem with the pardon of Ross Ulbricht, but at the same time, I'm not like Ross Ulbricht's not one of my heroes. He's not like Julian Assange, like Julian Assange. I actually have a lot of respect for Julian Assange. I don't really respect Albright because again, it's like one of those things, you know what you're doing and you know what evil can come of it, and the evil outweighs the good. Because if your child needs a liver in the insurance company, how far are you willing to go? I mean, I'm willing to fucking go to Africa and buy a fucking liver. I'm willing to go to Mexico and try to find a liver. You know what I mean? I'll go the distance if I have to go to the distance. But I don't know that, like, I think you knew, I think he knew that the evil was going to outweigh the good. But at the end of the day, he created that website just so he could do drugs. So, and he knew that was wrong. So, yeah. And it's sentence a little too, but what do you guys think? Mur530 says, my neighbor 36 needs a kidney because he didn't get the COVID shot. The medical center denied him when his name came up. That is pretty fucked up. Hopefully that all changes now. Marines Bubba says, downside to ghost bed is when it's so cold that your room is freezing despite the heater and it's too long to warm up using my poncho liner. Let's try to find it. Greg Montaigne says, mortuaries do that all the time. There was one that was stitching people together. Yeah, there's some crazy mortuaries where my mother worked at a funeral home long time ago, and she used to come back with some fucking crazy stories. I don't condone what Ulbricht created. I don't either. That was from Hydroman Blue. Refer to the Silk Road Transplant Department. Guts Greg LaMontagne from the Bars Open with Beth and Greg. Some of you guys have even asked me privately, why don't I do society and culture anymore? It's because we have Greg and Beth and Greg, and a completely underrated podcast. They put way more time and energy in it than just about any other society and news podcast. I used to listen to Pop Culture Crisis. I will say that I get way more from the Bars Open with Beth and Greg than I get with Pop Culture Crisis. So, I don't know. That's where I go to get all my society and culture news, is the Bars Open with Beth and Greg, and just all the kind of stuff that, I don't know, that's fun to know. Unlike this stuff, which is kind of sometimes depressing. It's always a good time on the Beth and Greg show. So that's why I don't do society and culture anymore. Murph, I think, says it's all fair argument. Yeah, all big fair arguments, guys. But that is the news. That's what's going on right now. Have fun on that rabbit hole of Michelle Obama and Barack Obama. There's a lot of stuff out there. A lot of very convincing stuff, not conspiracy theory stuff, especially in regards to Obama's his birth certificate. There has been there's forensic evidence by sheriff's departments that have concluded that it is not a real birth certificate and that he was born of Nigerian descent. There is a lot of evidence out there that there's just a lot of why doesn't Michelle have any photographs of her being pregnant? All those kinds of things. So very fun rabbit holes to go down. Of course, do it carefully. Try not to do it maliciously. Don't be starting fights with people, because at the end of the day, nobody really fucking knows. It's just information that you get to clog your brain up with, but it beats mindless scrolling on TikToks and things like that. So don't believe everything you hear, especially with all the stuff that I said there. That should all go and be fact checked, because that wasn't really what today's show is. So I didn't provide you guys with receipts. So don't even take what I said in the Obama realm as regards some of that. Like I said, I don't trust a lot of that, but I do think at the end of the day, I do think that there is something nefarious going on with the Obama family. I think there's always been something a little bit more nefarious behind the Obama family that we even know about. So that's just my final take on that.
My question for you is, had Brangelina and all that back in the day. If we have Obama and Aniston, what's that name? Baniston? Braniston? Anna Barack?
Obonifer? That's what
we have to figure Aniston? Out. That's why it's not been announced yet.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why it's not announced yet. They don't have that name figured out.
I don't think that rumor is true at all. I don't think that rumor is true at all. I think that's just dumb TMZ shit. I don't think there's any. I think you would know. I don't. Man, Jennifer Aniston's hot though. Maybe I'm not looking at it objectively, because I just don't want to see that happen. I want her to be single forever, just in case, tragically my wife, Lord forbid,
just keep her in her back pocket for you.
Yeah, I don't think my wife would be upset about that though.
Jennifer Aniston's your backup.
Oh my gosh, my celeb go-to. I feel bad. I'm gonna have to go pray. All right, guys, I gotta head to Raleigh, downtown Raleigh. So I'm gonna end this about 6 minutes short today because I'm a slow driver anyway, and I'm especially slower in the snow. So from myself and everybody here at FAWKES News, leave us a 5-star rating and review if you haven't already done so. Go and purchase the book Pit Latin. Seriously funny true story. Get on the pre-order list. If you would give us that 5-star rating and review, and then subscribe if you want to watch us on YouTube or be part of live chats forever, ever, then give us a subscribe and hit that ring-a-ding-a-ding-ding dong bell. Appreciate all of you guys. Love you. As G.I. Joe says, maybe you didn't know about the Michelle Obama rumors. Maybe you didn't know about Leonard Peltier or Ross Ulbricht, but now you do know, and knowing is half the battle. Take us out of here, Joshua.
See you.